All right, let's get right into it. We're about to explore one of the most incredible and frankly tragic stories in the history of mathematics. It's a story about a revolutionary genius, a life cut tragically short, and a legacy scribbled down in one desperate final night that would literally change everything. So these were the last words Évariste Galois ever said to his little brother, no less. He was just 20 years old, bleeding out from a duel. And those words, they really set the stage for this whole story. A life of just unbelievable potential, gone in a flash, but faced with this incredible courage. And this is him, Évariste Galois. When you look at this portrait, you gotta remember, you're not looking at some old professor. You're seeing a teenager who was thinking about math that was light years ahead of anyone else at the time, all while his personal life was just total chaos. And that really brings us to the core mystery here. How does a genius like this end up dead in a duel? The truth is, we don't fully know. It's all tangled up with love and politics. But maybe the more important question is, what secrets was he frantically writing down the night before he died? What was so important that we're still talking about it today? See, to understand that final desperate night, you have to understand his life. And his life was pretty much defined by one big conflict. He was a brilliant mind, living in a world that just wasn't ready for him. I mean, his talent was just on another level. While other kids his age were slogging through their homework, Galois was picking up these incredibly advanced works by master mathematicians and just reading them like you or I would read a novel. He wasn't just learning math, he was breathing it. And here's the paradox that defined his life. On one hand, you've got this absolute prodigy. As a teenager, he's making these huge discoveries, publishing papers, and literally creating 2 new fields of algebra. But on the other hand, look at how the system treated him. He failed the entrance exam for the top school in France twice. His groundbreaking papers were just lost by the Academy. And when they didn't lose his work, they just called it incomprehensible. And this number is so important. 2 times, he submitted his life's work to the most prestigious scientific body in France. And 2 times, it was either lost or flat out rejected. One paper was supposedly misplaced. Another disappeared when the guy reviewing it died. Just imagine that level of frustration. But it wasn't just an academic fight for Galois. No, he was also a passionate political radical, a staunch Republican living in the middle of all the chaos of post-revolutionary France. This image just captures his whole situation perfectly. As a revolution is literally kicking off in the streets of Paris, where's Galois? He's locked inside a school. The director wouldn't let him out to join the fight. You can just imagine him, pacing like a caged animal. He got so angry that he wrote a fiery letter to a newspaper, which, of course, got him expelled. And his life just got crazier from there. Just look at this timeline. In the span of a single month, his father commits suicide over a political smear campaign, and he fails that huge exam for the 2nd time. He then gets arrested for threatening the king, and then arrested again, landing him in jail for 6 months. This was his reality as a teenager. And all of that brings us to the night of May 29th, 1832. Galois is fresh out of prison, he's facing a duel, he is certain he's going to lose, and so he stays up all night long, not practicing his aim, but writing down his legacy. And this is it. This is the page from the actual letter he wrote that night. He's just frantically pouring a lifetime of genius onto a few pages, trying to get it all down before the sun came up and he had to go face his fate. And in that letter, he wrote this amazing line. He knew his work was world-changing, but he also knew it was unfinished, a mess. He was basically putting a message in a bottle, hoping that someone, someday, would come along and be able to figure it all out. So what was in that mess? Well, for over a decade, almost nothing happened. His work just sat there unread, but eventually, people did come along and decipher it. At the very heart of it was what we now call Galois' theory. To put it simply, he discovered this beautiful, hidden connection between 2 totally separate areas of math, solving equations and the idea of symmetry. He found the secret key to understanding why some equations can be solved and others can't. But just look how long it took the world to catch up. He dies in 1832. It isn't until 1843 that another mathematician, Joseph Liévin, finally looks at his papers and has that light bulb moment, realizing what a treasure he's holding. 3 years after that, he finally gets them published. It took 14 years for Galois' final wish to come true.
And once the world saw it, the impact was huge. He solved a problem that had been bugging mathematicians for 350 years. He helped create an entire field called group theory. He invented something now called Galois fields, which are absolutely fundamental to modern computing and cryptography. His ideas just rippled across all of mathematics.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The legendary mathematician Hermann Weyl called that last letter, well, you can read it right there. One of the most important pieces of writing in all of human history. Not bad for a 20-year-old who called his own work a mess. And so the story of Évariste Galois leaves us with this really powerful, kinda haunting question. We were lucky that his work was found. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other brilliant ideas in science, in art, anywhere, have been lost to time just because they were too far ahead of their time, waiting for someone to come along and decipher the mess?